Hello, welcome to Fiber Trek. My name is Sarah. Welcome. You are most welcome here. I am in the North Woods of Maine where I live with my husband, Rob, and our dog, Ruby. I have done quite a few different projects over the past couple weeks, and I'm looking forward to sharing those with you on this edition. If you are coming over from the Gentle Knitter podcast, welcome. Thank you for taking some time to see what's happening over here. I cover a variety of different craft topics: art journaling, quilting, stitching, and of course, knitting and spinning. On this edition, I'm going to take you through a rather epic project I embarked on this weekend, which involved finishing a rather epic quilt. And let's take some time to feel the pain, the blood, sweat, and tears, although I do have good news at the end, and I look forward to sharing that. I am also wanting to make sure that I say a deep, heartfelt thank you to all of you who take time to comment, take time to be here with me, to take what I've been working on and go forward in your own making. And a deep, heartfelt thank you to those patrons that invest financially. I am very much enjoying the opportunity to invest in some new equipment and other opportunities out in the fiber world. So as they say, we should just muck in and see what happens.
When we wake, hear the birds and see the sun. Side by side our fears are done. Oh, the good times just begun. We know what we have, let's hold on tight. Found what we're looking for in life. Call us crazy, but things are finally right. With you and I, the future is bright.
Okay, so I may have built up this process a little bit more than I should have as epic, but there was blood, sweat, and tears involved. This is the Orkney Grove quilt by Ruth Designs. I've been working on it for about a year, and it involves strip, piecing, mariner's compasses. But then these get placed onto circles and circles within circles within circles. And I needed to find a way to work with these large pieces of fabric and turn the edges because they were going to be appliqued onto a larger piece of fabric. Luckily, Rob was home. I pulled him away from chainsaw milling logs. He gave me his best visual, spatial, mathematic innovations. But in the end, we just weren't able to figure it out. And I thought, I'm going to have to find another way to work with this piece in a smaller format. So I know people are yelling at the screen right now about what I should do. In the end, I made templates of the original, what the finished piece should be, out of wax paper. So I just traced what the fussy cut templates that I used originally, and I laid those down on the finished pieces, and I folded the edges to meet what the original intent of the pattern was. So wax paper, love it. Stick it down with the iron, it peels right up. It's a great hack for applique and for sewing. So in the end, this worked brilliantly. I would be lying if I said I did not shed some tears about this project. It's just so large and overwhelming. And I'd gotten to the place where it was the big part, right? The big assembly. This was a brilliant moment. It made me feel like I was back on track and I was able to finish it and turn all of the edges. What came next involved some serious help from Rob.
I know it's nothing new, but it's so good to see you. We do this every day, and I'm still so amazed by you. So hold me tight through the night. just us two, me and you. Oh, oh, I can't believe you love me. Oh, oh, I just feel so lucky. Oh, oh, still can't believe you love me.
So now that I had folded all the edges and finished them, I needed to pin the center medallion onto the larger medallion quilt. And that involved needing a very large table so that I could stretch everything out. And I put flannel sheets down and wool blankets down on this plywood. Thank you, Rob, for building this platform for me so that I could smooth everything down and pin it under some sort of tension. Again, this for me was very challenging, working with a circular piece. She made explicit instruction not to overlap it more than a 1/4 inch. I cried, I bled, and then I gave up on that, and I just decided to stitch it on. And the management of the fabric, all of these things were kind of coming down on me. It was late afternoon. I'm going to chat a little bit about and debrief on the coming up, but suffice it to say, I was glad that I got to work outside, and all of that buildup of angst really was unnecessary. This looks great. It worked out. There was no major issues with the finished piece of that center medallion. Now, the next part of that was to take the whole circular piece, the whole applique strip, and put that onto the backing. So again, I was back outside the next day, smoothing everything out, pinning it down, and getting that ready to be stitched. I got no footage of that, but late into the night, I decided to just stitch it on and finish it. So the whole quilt is complete now. So that is the good news. And here is what the end product will look like. So let's talk about this quilt because I haven't worked on it for almost a year. I did get sidetracked, and I also got a little stymied. This particular quilt I saw when I found the Orkney William & Morris Company fabrics. And this is designed by Rob and Ruth. It is a series of mariner's compasses, circles within circles within circles. And as Rob noted to me yesterday, he's like, circles are hard. So I don't think I'm going to stick the landing on this particular skill, but I do think I get marks for trying. You know, it's like that gymnastics competitor who doesn't finish the triple lunge double over sow cow, but they did try to do it. I think for me, this quilt definitely was a challenge, and you may not know, but I do practice intermittent fasting, and I probably shouldn't have worked on this, you know, the 14th hour into my fast yesterday, because I really got worked up about it, and I could not figure out how I was going to insert the larger medallion onto the larger circle. So it's got like I said, a circle within a circle. And I did figure it out, as you saw, but there's definitely wobbly bits and a little bit of puckering. I found it really difficult to manage the fabric. Couple things. One, I definitely love that I'm always up for the challenge and that I have a strong curiosity for skill, and I think that served me well on this project. That does not always complement my pace. I tend to rush through. I wish I took more time to be precise. I wish that I could finesse a little bit better. I definitely can fudge, but I'm not sure finesse is the word I would use to describe myself. Other quilts I have felt successful on, but again, the fudging has outweighed the finessing. Hasn't bothered me as much as this particular one because there was nowhere to go as far as, oh, I'll just, cut off this little extra bit, or I'll add this border, or it'll be fine. If this didn't fit inside the circle, then the whole quilt was kind of kaput. So I'd like to have this done before the end of my school year, which is June 8th. And then I can send it away. This I'm hoping will be for Rob and I for our bed. It's a queen size quilt. So it's a significant project and investment of time. The other quilts that I have in store are lap quilts, and I'll be talking a little bit about those in another episode. But for now, this obviously motivated me. This is my only other quilt whip, and I'm happy to kind of begin to move it forward, even though there has been some heartbreak. So stay tuned. We'll see what happens, and hopefully I can get through the rest of it without any tears. So I have not been daunted by this moment with fabric, and I just wanted to highlight for you some of the projects I'm going home to. I'm going to make another rippling star quilt. I featured that in my last edition that I made for my mother. And this is Camping Creek camping, and a mix of the background is from Esther Falun Lau from her Forest Fables. And that's just going to be half square triangles put together, and nothing like the other quilt. I've already done it before, so that feels very smooth and easy and low stress. The next one I was thinking I would work on is the Clava by Miss May Makes, and this is inspired by a Bronze Age site in the Scottish Highlands, and I found these great fabrics from Windham. This is Uncorked, and I'm going to be doing 2 phases of Blue Moons and 1 phase in the middle of Golden, and I bought 4 fabrics in each of the colorways and kind of a gradient ombre look. And then this for the backing, which was like moonflowers, and I just loved it. It all came together. So I actually started on that. It is a series of curves, but I am having no problems creating those seams. I also picked up Ballerina by Jaybird Quilts, and this was to feature larger scale prints. I always am running into that a little bit, where I have these gorgeous fabrics, they're large scale prints, and they don't really work for small patchwork. This is a Northwest inspired fabric line from Birch Fabrics, and it has sea otters and mushrooms and humpback whales and hummingbirds. I just really was attracted to the colors and also the natural themes, and I was excited to kind of, again, have those larger scale prints featured on the quilt. So looking forward to working on these this summer. Again, as I noted, these are all going to be lap size quilts, and so stay tuned. So there has been quite a lot of quilting, and that's been very invigorating to kind of A, wrap up a rather challenging project, and then B, go through and look at the projects, organize them, get them cut so they're ready to be stitched. As I said before, I love the amount of time that it takes to finish a project for quilting, and as it compares to other element pieces, crafts that I do. So I've enjoyed that feeling of finishing. Not to say I haven't reached any milestones with my knitting. I have been working on the Carden by Jennifer Wood of Woodhouse Designs. I'm knitting this in a 3-ply handspun, and it is Nash Island fleece from right here in Maine from Starcroft Fiber. And I finished my first 2 balls. Cross your fingers, I have enough for the next. But as I was saying, I have separated for the body and the sleeves, and I've tried it on, and I wanted to share with you a tool that my friend Nicole of the Gentle Knitter gave to me. This is the Knitting Barber, and they are these cords that you can put onto your needles so you don't have to find a spare pair of needles, slip it on, etc., and lose stitches when you're trying things on. So I thought we would do that together. So basically what we're going to do is simply take the ends of these rubberized cord and we can slip it over the ends of the needles. And then I'm just going to push my stitches, I think, along the cord so I can gain enough room to try it on. And I did this initially when I had reconnected, and I found that they're pretty sturdy as far as sticking to the needles and nothing came loose. Just have the sleeves tied off with some yarn. So here it is. Collar is quite close up, which is fine with me. And I think once it has a nice relaxing block in the washing machine, it will, in the washing machine, well, I will put it in the wash to block it because I like to spin it out on the lock and spin cycle. I think it will relax quite a bit. Now, one of the decisions I have to start to make is how many repeats of this top portion of the cable that I want to do. I have a longer torso. This is meant to lay at the hip, and there is shaping using cables up on the bust line and down. So I am going to finish up this repeat of the pattern. I'm going to take some measurements, and then I'm going to have to decide if I'm going to do another repeat and then move into the next chart or what I'm going to do. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm at. Super easy. Now that I'm no longer kind of calculating for the raglan shaping, which happens here, I don't really have to attend to that. So the numbers have diminished as far, I mean, the increasing, this, you know, that type of thing. I just have to attend to the chart. But for the most part, these larger cables that you're doing only happen twice every series of repeats, and these are pretty easy to tell when they need to be twisted. So I'm really happy with the way this has turned out. It's got a lot of nice structure. The 3-ply is nice and round. It's a little bit on the tighter ply side. So it's got a lot of spring and action in it. And yeah, I'm looking forward to having this done. So, and I'm knitting it on a US 8, so it's going much quicker than the other piece I'm working on, which is the fox sweater from Koftebolken 3 in the Hillesvåg Solia and Vilja, and I continue to make up the repeats that I had ripped out last episode. So yeah, so these are handy. I'm not sure that I would run out and get them. I would happy to have received them as a gift. I have found them useful. So one of those pieces that you didn't really realize you didn't need it, and then you got it and you're thinking that's pretty convenient. So again, that's the Knitting Barber. This particular piece came with 1, 2, longer one, and 3. So it looks like there's a couple different lengths in here. So yeah, so check those out and yeah, see if they can work their way into your toolkit. I'm going to take this off and I'm going to talk to you about the last portion. One of the things that I like to do when I am trying to fall asleep or I'm traveling, when I'm commuting, is think about what's in my stash, catalog all the different things, and then think about projects I might like to do. And while I have not cast this on, I do this quite a bit. Sweater comes down the pike or another project, and I like to spend quite a bit of time going through, well, what could I use that I have? This is the Moonlight Meadow by Melody Hoffman, who is Mandarine. She also has a YouTube channel. She has a Patreon account. I am a member of her Patreon, And one of the benefits is that you get early access to her self-published patterns, exclusive content, and secret behind-the-scenes videos. So this was part of that perk that she offers, and I was super excited. So again, this is the Moonlight Meadow, and she's using US wool, and I think the other wool that she has in here is Rosa Pomor, the Bioria, which is 100% Portuguese wool, which is the pink. And so US wool Sean and US wool Fras, Zwart Blas, and Cheviot blends. All of these yarns are DK weight. So I was thinking about how I'd like to do this, and I really want to knit this. I have like 3 of her sweaters in my queue that I really would like to get on the needles. And I thought about this Jacob cone. This is massive. I know, don't be surprised. It's a big, huge cone of charcoal colored yarn. And I'm sorry, it's not Jacob, it's Navajo Churro. Let's see, this is 2,200 yards. And I picked this up as a deal a long time ago, and I've wanted to use it. Obviously, I'll probably be able to get more than one sweater out of this. And so I would like to use this as the base for that Moonlight Meadow pattern. Where I started to think is what I would like to use for the contrast pieces and how best to mimic kind of the puffiness of that Rosa Pomor Bioria. So my friend Nicole had also sent me some new Teeden yarn in this kind of fun coppery colorway. And as you start to see the yarns I've pulled for this from Stash, you'll see a theme. And you probably saw the same theme if you watched my episode featuring the In the Heart of the Forest hat by Sophia Kamaborn. So I'm thinking about using this as the kind of pop of color, and then potentially this kind of greeny sage as one of the contrasts. So I am a little hesitant to use this because I have more new Teeden, and I'm not sure I want to break up the stash in case I want to knit a bigger project. So I also have this kind of coppery yarn. These are both Tidal yarns from Patricia, who does natural dyeing, and so that's a possibility. And then I thought I could go back to those old salt yarns, which are BFL and a merino alpaca silk. And again, these are just varying tones on that copper and green, that foresty, mossy kind of. I really love this color. This is sedge, so that's a possibility. And then I hauled in some more of Patricia's blues that I have in my stash, and they're here. So there's potential for the blues and this charcoal and to pull in something like that. So I'm having a lot of fun daydreaming a little bit about this sweater. Going through my stash, I always find that when a pattern comes into my periphery or onto my radar, I, like I said, really enjoy kind of daydreaming a little bit about, what could I use? And then obviously the opportunity to go through and take a look and shop right in the house. As much as I really would love to go out and purchase some yarn, I am well cashed with plenty to work with. So that's kind of something I've been daydreaming about and thinking about. I love to do that as an exercise. It keeps me grounded, and I don't get kind of whisked away on some of the larger anxieties in life, which is very easy for me to do. So yeah, so we'll see what happens. I would really love to get the Carden off the needles. I've been pretty committed to going directly to that project in the evenings. And I look at and think about the fox sweater very often. And it has been getting work done, but taking much more gratification in the what's the word I'm looking for? The progress on the bulkier needles right now. So yeah, so that is what's been happening in the fibery world. If you had a chance to catch my haul video on the Patreon, I still am thinking about that gathered cheap yarn and how I would like to use it. I get to look at that frequently. It sits in my studio. Upcoming on the Patreon is going to be a vlog when Rob and I head to Loon Lake next weekend, and Rob will be doing a knot tying basics. So we've kind of picked 5 knots that we think people should have in their repertoire and be able to use easily. So we're going to be doing a quick video on that while we're up in the woods, and I look forward to sharing that with you as well. And I hope that wherever you are in the world, that you're finding some time to be in good spirits, enjoying outside, and whatever season may be coming your way. So many fond wishes and blessings to you, and I will see you next time. Take care.